In this lesson, we're going to start the retouching process by removing the card in the window screen of the car. Hello and welcome to Inspiration Clan. We're going to start the retouching process for the supercar. First, we will remove this card from the window screen of the car, and then we're actually going to remove the excess shadows on the bodywork of the car. As we've changed the scene, we also need to change the shadows to match. So let's jump back into Photoshop. We've already got our document, we've got the background that we changed, and we've also got the road that we done initially. So our scene is looking good, but now we actually need to pay some attention to the car. So we need to edit the car, we need to retouch some elements. So let's jump straight in and get started. The first thing I want to do is remove this card that's obviously been put kindly do not touch, but that's not good for our image. So we want to remove this completely from our scene, from the image. So what I want to do is I just want to create a new layer above all other layers, and I'm just going to rename this layer remove the card. There we go. So this will be the layer we'll use to remove this this blue card here. So we're going to do this using the clone stamp tool. So we want to come and select the clone stamp tool over here, and we want to make sure opacity and flow 100. We can adjust these as we're doing the edit, and we want to sample current layer and below. So we want to sample this layer and we want to sample the layer below. So as with all other clone stamping, you want to select it, and then you want to hold down Alt, and you want to select an area, and then you're going to sample an area, and then you're going to click and drag to perform the edit. Now this is a little bit more complex here, especially when you're retouching a car. You have to be really careful with the lighting and make sure that you perform a good clone stamp and a good edit so it's really realistic. Now one way to do that is to make a selection using the pen tool, so you can only clone stamp in a certain area, which we will do later on. But firstly, I'm actually just going to come in and I'm just going to start using the clone stamp tool to perform this edit. So I'm just going to hold down Alt to sample an area, and then I'm just going to click and drag to brush in. So this darker area. Take your time with these edits in the clone stamp tool. It is a complicated process, and don't be afraid to undo, go back in and make changes to what you've already done. So you just want to build it up, take some of the black colours and build it up. And what you're looking to do is have a nice smooth result. You don't want any distinction between the colours, you want it all to blend in seamlessly. So you can take a look at your image and see roughly how it should look. So this part of the car, this lighter grey, is going to come down to here. So we need to create that curved effect with the clone stamp tool. So let's go in and keep brushing in and build this effect up. So I'm going to do all the black first. Let's create this curve here, roughly how it should be at the top. Okay, there we go. And then this time at the bottom, so do the same again. Just zoom in a little bit there. Reduce the brush size. Again, just keep sampling and keep building it up to produce the result that you need. Undo that. Control Z to undo. Command or Control if you're using a Mac. So again, just keep building this up. I'm going to come in and remove this lower part now. There we go. Like I said, slow process. The easier you take it, the slower you take it, the more precise the outcome will be, the more realistic your end result. So I'm just going to keep building this up and building this up. Okay, so let's take a look. So if we zoom out, okay, we're looking good. So you can see that we've actually edited nicely these black areas, and now we just need to come in and we need to create this lighter grey colour. So again, back onto the clone stamp tool, select this area, just want to come in and build this up. Same for down here, just want to come in and sample and click. I'm going to go ahead and increase the size there so we can get the black edges as well. Undo that there. So I'm just going to come in and build this up now quite heavily, and then okay, let's have a look. Let's zoom out and see how that looks. Okay, so it looks okay. I think there is some improvements to be made. So let's select the clone stamp tool again. Just reduce the size. We just want to make sure the thickness of this line is roughly similar throughout. So again, click and drag to build it up. Create a more realistic look. Undo that again. If you make a mistake, don't be afraid to undo. Add some more black in. Okay, so there we go, that is looking good. So we've removed that bottom part of the card. So now we've done that, we need to now start on the top part of the card. So to remove the top part of the card, we're going to use the same technique. However, the first thing I'm going to do is actually select the pen tool. I'm going to zoom in first, and I'm going to select the pen tool. I'm just going to make a selection around this edge of our image, around the window wiper of the car. Now when you have a selection and then you use a clone stamp tool, what that will enable you to do is to clone stamp and not go outside of a selected area. So I will show you exactly what I mean in a second once we've just made this selection. Let's just go ahead, selection around here. Okay, that should be good. So we want to select this whole area, a large area. This is the area we will use to actually clone stamp in and around. So you want to select the area you're going to use, a sample area, and then the actual area that you are going to be editing. So again, let's zoom in along the edge here. And then back to the first point. I'm just going to make selection there. Okay. So on our remove the card layer with the clone stamp tool selected, I'm just going to show you what I mean. So I'm just going to go ahead and sample an area, click Alt, and then I'm just going to click and drag, and you can see that it doesn't go outside of our selected area, which is really handy when you're performing this type of edit when you have a precise edge along one side. So it's perfect for this scenario. So now what we want to do is we just want to, oops, sorry, wrong keyboard shortcut there. I'm just gonna open bracket and close bracket to reduce the brush size, select the clone stamp tool and hit Alt on the keyboard, hit down Alt to sample an area, and then I'm just gonna brush in on here so we can start to remove this card out. I'm going to do this lower area first. I'm just going to build up our edit. The hardest part of clone stamping is when you have a merge of colours. So if here, for example, we have lighter colours and darker colours here, so we want to continue that line, that difference in colour. So that's why I'm going to do this lower part, the middle part, and then I'll join it all up. So go ahead, click Alt. Roughly like that. Okay, and the same again here. Reduce the brush size there, just start coming in and brushing that in. Now we can sample this area which has got the light and the dark colours, and then you can see when we're actually hovering the areas of light and dark, and we just want to continue this line like so. Continue the line. Let's zoom out quick, make sure it's looking okay when we zoom out. Yeah, it's not looking too bad. What you can do after as well is we can use a smudge tool just to blend this in a little bit extra, so we'll do that afterwards. So again, set the clone stamp and just repeat this process. I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video whilst I'll just remove the rest of this card. Okay, so there you go. I've removed the rest of this card using the clone stamp tool. You can see we've got a good result there. One thing I am going to do is I'm just going to use a smudge tool just to blend in the colors. So one thing you've got to take into account with these edits is when you've got a supercar, the colors will change slightly as you're doing the clone stamp. It's hard to get them perfect with the clone stamp tool. You should get them really good, but to get them perfect you may have to perform some additional edits. So we can do this with the smudge tool. So I'm going to select the smudge tool, I'm going to select the strength of 10, which is super low, and I'm just going to come in, I'm going to click and drag, which is just going to smudge these colors together, smudge these areas together. And what that's going to do, that's going to remove any sort of highlights, imperfections, any drastic changes in the edit that we've just done. Now you want to be very, very subtle with your actions here. You do not want to create any big changes. This is just to create some final unity in the edit that we've just done, like removing some of the brighter areas. So if we come in and we have a look a little bit closer, we can just smudge out some of these areas here. Very, very subtle. It's near impossible to see the edits that we're doing, but as you click and drag you're going to build them up, and it's going to make it look a lot more crisp and sharp and a better edit all round. So let's zoom back out. There you go, that's looking good. So let's turn that back on. So there's the card on the windscreen, and there it is removed. So that is how you remove unwanted parts of your image using the clone stamp tool. In the next video we are going to tackle the reflections on the car bodywork and perform a full retouch of the bodywork. So thank you again, I will see you in the next video.